I thought I had built the perfect life with Amanda. 9 years together, 5 of them married, and I was certain I knew everything about her. The software engineering career I built gave us financial stability, and our renovated colonial home was the envy of our neighborhood. But strange text notifications unexplained, lipstick stains, and her sudden pregnancy announcement, despite our infrequent intimacy, started raising red flags. Her passwords changed, late-night work meetings multiplied, and those secretive phone calls in the bathroom became routine. My gut screamed something was terribly wrong. Before I tell you what happened next, drop a comment, letting me know where you are watching from, and subscribe if you want to hear how I uncovered the painful truth that changed everything. I first met Amanda during my junior year at Northwestern University. Her infectious laugh caught my attention during a campus fundraiser, and I was immediately drawn to her. She was majoring in chemistry with dreams of working in pharmaceutical research, while I was deep into computer science. We clicked instantly, sharing a passion for 80s music and weekend hiking trips. After graduation, we moved to Boston, where I landed a position at a software company while she pursued her career at Wilson Pharmaceuticals. The first 5 years of our marriage felt like living in a dream. We purchased a fixer-upper in a quiet suburb and spent weekends renovating it together, transforming it into our ideal home. We talked about having children within a few years, setting up a savings plan to ensure financial stability when that time came. Every December, we vacationed in Colorado for skiing, and our summer weekends were filled with barbecues and neighborhood gatherings. Friends often commented on how perfect we seemed together, always finishing each other's sentences and supporting each other through career challenges. Things began to shift when Amanda received a promotion last year. She became the regional coordinator for clinical trials, which came with increased responsibility and longer hours. I supported her, completely picking up more household duties and adjusting our schedules to accommodate her new position. Around the same time, she mentioned a new colleague named Jason, who had transferred from the San Francisco office. At first, his name appeared casually in workplace stories about meetings and projects. Soon, he became a recurring character in her daily recaps. I noticed subtle changes in her appearance within weeks of the promotion. Amanda traded her practical ponytail for an expensive layered cut. Her wardrobe evolved from comfortable business casual to designer outfits that looked straight from fashion magazines. A new perfume replaced the vanilla scent she had worn since college. When I complimented these changes, she smiled and said she needed to present a more professional image for her new role. That explanation seemed reasonable, so I dismissed my uneasiness. The weekend work conferences began multiplying on our shared calendar. Previously an occasional necessity, they suddenly occurred twice monthly, often extending from Friday through Sunday. Each time I suggested joining her for the weekend and exploring whatever city she was visiting, she had logical reasons why that would be impractical. The conferences were reportedly intensive, with networking events running late into evenings, leaving no time for sightseeing or companionship. Our physical relationship cooled dramatically. Amanda started claiming exhaustion from work stress, headaches from tension, or early morning meetings requiring extra sleep. Intimacy became so infrequent that I could count our encounters on one hand over a 3-month period. When I attempted to discuss this change, she accused me of being insensitive to her career demands and suggested I was being unreasonable about physical needs. Reviewing our joint credit card statements one afternoon, I discovered charges from restaurants in Providence, nearly 40 miles from her supposed conference in Boston. When questioned, Amanda explained the conference group had traveled for a special dinner event. The explanation seemed plausible, but something in her defensive tone triggered deeper suspicion. Similar discrepancies appeared with increasing frequency. A hotel charge in New Hampshire during a supposedly local work event. Restaurant bills for 2 at expensive establishments when she claimed to be dining with female colleagues. On multiple occasions, Amanda returned home claiming exhaustion from late work sessions, yet I detected alcohol on her breath and a flushed excitement that seemed inconsistent with tedious business meetings. When I gently asked about these observations, she accused me of monitoring her like a suspicious parent rather than a supportive husband. The gaslighting made me question whether my concerns were legitimate or if I was becoming irrationally jealous of her career success. Everything escalated when Amanda announced her pregnancy on a Sunday morning over breakfast. Initially, Joy overwhelmed any doubts. As we had discussed starting a family, though we had planned to wait another year, she showed me a positive test and talked excitedly about due dates and nursery ideas. It was only later that evening, while reviewing our shared calendar, that troubling mathematics emerged. According to her timeline, conception would have occurred during a 2-week period when we had no intimate contact due to her business travel and my subsequent head cold. My opportunity to investigate further came unexpectedly when Amanda left her phone on the kitchen counter during her shower. The screen notification showed a message from an app I had never seen on her phone before. Opening it revealed a conversation with someone identified only as Jay. I only glimpsed fragments of intimate exchanges and plans to meet before hearing the shower water stop. I quickly returned the phone exactly as I had found it, my heart pounding with undeniable evidence something was seriously wrong. That night I confronted Amanda about the timing discrepancy regarding the pregnancy. She laughed, calling me adorably confused, and insisted I was misremembering our intimate encounters. With unwavering confidence, she described a specific night when we had supposedly been together, providing such convincing details that I momentarily doubted my own memory. She suggested my confusion might stem from excitement about becoming a father, smoothly shifting the conversation to baby names and nursery colors. Her ability to manipulate reality was so effective that I apologized for bringing up my concerns. The next week, Amanda suggested couples therapy, framing it as a way to strengthen our communication before the baby arrived. I agreed, hoping a professional might help sort through my confusion. During our third session, I carefully raised my concerns about the timeline discrepancies and communication issues. To my dismay, the therapist seemed to side completely with Amanda, suggesting my doubts might reflect anxiety about fatherhood or unconscious resistance to upcoming life changes. As Amanda nodded sympathetically, I felt increasingly isolated, questioning my perception of reality. My childhood friend Thomas visited from Seattle the following weekend, while Amanda attended another conference. Over beers, I hesitantly shared some of my concerns, expecting him to echo the therapist by suggesting I was overreacting. Instead, Thomas put down his bottle and looked at me seriously. He pointed out that my analytical mind had always served me well professionally, and if something felt wrong, it probably was. His simple validation was the first support I had received, and it strengthened my resolve to uncover the truth, whatever the consequences. With renewed determination, I created a detailed spreadsheet documenting every inconsistency in Amanda's behavior and statements over the past 6 months. Dates, times, claimed locations, versus credit card evidence changes in routine and our dwindling intimate encounters. The pattern that emerged was undeniable, yet still circumstantial. I needed concrete proof before taking any action that would permanently affect our marriage and the unborn child she carried. The decision point came when doing laundry one Sunday. While emptying the pockets of her blazer, my fingers found a folded receipt from the Harborview Hotel dated the previous Tuesday. This struck me as odd, since Amanda had told me she was working late at the office that evening, even sending a text complaining about her demanding boss keeping the team until nearly midnight. The hotel was less than 2 miles from her office building, and the receipt showed room service for 2 at 8:47 p.m., including a bottle of champagne and 2 desserts. That night I began researching paternity rights and legal obligations regarding unborn children. The information was troubling. In our state, a child born during marriage is legally presumed to be the husband's responsibility regardless of biological paternity. Challenging this presumption would require legal action and DNA testing, potentially becoming a public and humiliating process. If my suspicions were correct, I could be legally obligated to support a child that was not biologically mine unless I took specific legal actions within a limited time frame. The moral and ethical questions weighed heavily on me. Was invading Amanda's privacy justified given the stakes? Would surveillance make me no better than the betrayer I suspected her to be? After 3 sleepless nights wrestling with these questions, I concluded that discovering the truth was necessary not just for my future, but potentially for the child's well-being as well. Everyone deserved to know their actual parentage, and financial responsibility should fall to biological parents when possible. Amanda announced an overnight business trip to New York scheduled for the following week. This created the perfect opportunity to implement a surveillance strategy. I purchased 3 high-definition cameras with motion detection and audio recording capabilities from a specialty security shop 2 counties away, paying cash to avoid any record of the purchase. Each camera was disguised as an ordinary household object, one inside a smoke detector, another within a bedside clock radio, and the third concealed in a bookshelf speaker. The installation process took meticulous planning. I set up the equipment while Amanda attended a prenatal appointment, carefully positioning each camera to cover different angles of our bedroom and the adjacent sitting area where she often took private calls. The system allowed remote monitoring through an encrypted application on my laptop, with data stored both locally on secured memory cards and backed up to a private cloud server I controlled. The technology was sophisticated enough to activate only when motion or sound was detected, preventing thousands of hours of empty footage. While setting up the surveillance system, I discovered something else concerning. Our shared home office contained a filing cabinet where we kept important documents. The folder containing our financial information appeared slightly disorganized compared to my usually meticulous filing system. A closer inspection revealed that several documents were missing, including statements from my personal investment account that held inheritance money from my grandparents. This discovery heightened my anxiety about what might really be happening behind my back. 2 days later, Amanda canceled a doctor appointment that I had planned to attend, claiming the doctor needed to reschedule but that she would handle it. When I offered to call the office to find a time that worked for both of us, she became unusually agitated, insisting she would manage all medical arrangements, since she understood the medical terminology better than I would. This protective behavior around pregnancy information further reinforced my suspicions about the situation. That same week, while reviewing our banking records for tax preparation, I discovered Amanda had opened a separate account at a different bank and had been transferring small but significant amounts from our joint account over several months. The transfers were labeled as medical expenses or work supplies, reasonable enough to avoid immediate suspicion but substantial when totaled. Nearly $17,000 had moved from our shared resources without discussion. When combined with her careful control of all pregnancy information, a disturbing picture began forming. One evening, while Amanda showered, I overheard fragments of a phone conversation through the bathroom door. Her voice was hushed but urgent as she discussed what sounded like timeline problems, and the phrase making him believe it was clearly audible. When she emerged, I casually asked who she had been talking to, and she claimed it was her mother calling about baby shower plans. The lie came smoothly, without a moment of hesitation, making me wonder how many similar deceptions had gone unnoticed over our years together. As the pregnancy progressed, Amanda became increasingly hostile when I asked basic questions about baby development or upcoming appointments. During dinner with friends, she shared a detailed story about feeling the baby kick for the first time, describing my emotional reaction to the moment. The story was entirely fabricated, as no such experience had occurred between us. When I questioned her later about the fictional account, she accused me of embarrassing her in front of friends and suggested pregnancy hormones might be affecting her memory of events. For several nights, I monitored the camera footage while pretending to work late at the office, finding nothing significant. Amanda would typically watch television, make phone calls to her mother or friends, and prepare for bed normally. The lack of evidence was both relieving and frustrating. Part of me hoped to be proven wrong about my suspicions, while another part needed confirmation that I was not losing my grip on reality. The tension in our household grew palpably. Simple exchanges about household chores or dinner plans developed into passive-aggressive conflicts. Amanda began spending more time locked in the guest room, claiming she was preparing nursery plans or resting due to pregnancy discomfort. When together, our conversations felt scripted and superficial, focusing exclusively on practical matters while avoiding any meaningful connection. An unexpected call from Amanda's mother created another puzzling situation. She called to congratulate me on the recent ultrasound results, mentioning specific details about the baby's development and sex that Amanda had not shared with me. When confronted, Amanda produced documentation from a doctor's appointment I had not been aware of, showing ultrasound images and results. Something about the paperwork seemed odd, though I could not immediately identify what triggered my suspicion. Later, comparing the header with previous medical documents, I noticed subtle differences in formatting and logo placement, suggesting possible alteration. The final confirmation of my worst fears came through an ordinary credit card statement that arrived while Amanda was at work. A recurring charge for legal consultations appeared under her separate card section linked to a family law practice specializing in divorce and custody arrangements. Internet research revealed the firm was known for aggressive representation of women in high-asset divorces and complex custody cases. This discovery shifted my understanding from suspecting merely an affair to recognizing I might be facing a calculated long-term deception with severe financial and legal implications. Everything changed on what began as an ordinary Tuesday in April. I had told Amanda I would be at the office all day for an important project deadline, but actually arranged to work remotely from a coffee shop near our home. Around 2 in the afternoon, I received a motion alert from the bedroom camera system. Expecting perhaps a housekeeper or maintenance person Amanda might have scheduled, I was stunned to see Jason enter our bedroom, followed closely by Amanda. The high-definition audio captured their conversation with perfect clarity as they sat on the edge of the bed I had shared with my wife for 5 years. Jason placed his hand possessively on her stomach and asked how their baby was doing. The casual confirmation of my worst suspicions hit like a physical blow, but what followed was far more devastating. Their conversation revealed not just an affair, but a calculated conspiracy. Amanda laughed as she confirmed the baby was definitely his, describing how she had carefully tracked her ovulation to ensure conception during their time together. She detailed her systematic efforts to maintain minimal physical relations with me around the same period to create plausible deniability about paternity. With clinical detachment, she explained how she had altered medical records to adjust the conception date to match our timeline, even mentioning the name of a friend in medical records who had helped modify the documentation. As Jason expressed concern about my growing suspicions, Amanda dismissed his worries with chilling confidence. She outlined how she had been systematically gaslighting me, making me question my own memory and perceptions. The couple's therapist she had carefully selected was an old college friend who had agreed to help undermine my concerns and frame them as anxiety about fatherhood. She boasted about how effectively she had isolated me from friends who might support my version of reality. The most devastating revelation came when they discussed their long-term financial strategy. Amanda described how she had been documenting every minor disagreement, creating a narrative of emotional withdrawal and neglect that would support her divorce filing after the baby was born. She had calculated that waiting until after birth would strengthen her position for both child support and alimony. She had accessed my financial records and knew exactly how much my inheritance was worth, along with details about my retirement accounts and stock options from my company. Jason asked whether I might become suspicious about the paternity, and Amanda revealed she had already consulted with a lawyer about this possibility. She explained that, in our state, challenging paternity would be difficult once she established me as the father on the birth certificate. She planned to use my natural desire to avoid public humiliation as leverage, believing I would rather pay support than engage in a messy public legal battle that would expose the affair and paternity fraud. What truly shattered any remaining illusion was Amanda casually mentioning this was not her first experience with such manipulation. She referred to a previous relationship with a former boyfriend where she had practiced similar tactics, though without the pregnancy component. She described it as a learning experience that had prepared her for executing this more complex deception. Jason seemed impressed, rather than concerned, by this revelation of past manipulation. They spent nearly 30 minutes discussing what they would do once they had secured financial support through the divorce settlement. Amanda detailed plans to move to Arizona, where Jason was being transferred for work, using my child support payments to help finance their new life together. They laughed about how I would be paying for their future vacations and the education of a child that wasn't mine. The casual cruelty of their planning was punctuated by intimate physical exchanges that confirmed the long-standing nature of their relationship. My physical reaction to watching this footage was violent and immediate. My stomach convulsed and I barely reached the bathroom before vomiting. Uncontrollable tremors racked my body as the full impact of the betrayal registered. For several minutes, I experienced a kind of blackout, staring at the bathroom wall without really seeing it. my mind struggling to process the destruction of my marriage-planned family and fundamental trust in the person I had built my life around. When the initial shock subsided, rage flooded through me so powerfully that I nearly drove home to confront them immediately. A moment of clarity broke through the emotional storm, and I recognized that an emotional confrontation would only play into their hands. Amanda could claim I had become violent or unstable, potentially strengthening her legal position. Instead, I forced myself to continue watching and gathering evidence, taking screenshots of key moments, and backing up the video to multiple secure locations. Over the next several hours, I reviewed additional footage from previous days, discovering numerous phone conversations where Amanda had coordinated with Jason and spoken with her lawyer about strategy. One particularly disturbing clip showed Amanda going through my home office, photographing personal documents and financial statements. Another revealed her sharing my private passwords and account information with Jason, who appeared to be taking notes. The footage also revealed something I found personally devastating. Several friends I had considered mutual, including couples we regularly socialized with, were apparently aware of the affair and actively helping cover for Amanda. Reference was made to times when these friends had provided false alibis or distracted me, while Amanda and Jason arranged meetings. People who had dined in our home and accepted our hospitality had been laughing behind my back for months. As I continued reviewing evidence, memories of ignored warning signs flashed through my mind. The business trips that never produced souvenirs or specific stories. The new friends from work whose last names I was never told. The sudden interest in privacy and financial independence after years of transparent sharing. Her inexplicable anger when I suggested attending medical appointments together. Each memory now appeared clearly as part of a systematic campaign of deception rather than innocent changes in a growing relationship. The complete collapse of trust extended beyond Amanda to my general faith in relationships and human decency. If someone I had loved and trusted for 9 years could execute such a calculated betrayal involving multiple conspirators, how could I ever trust anyone again? The shattering of my worldview felt as painful as the specific betrayal itself. Rather than giving in to despair or rage, I made a critical decision that evening. I would respond not with emotional reaction but with strategic precision. The people who had treated my life as a game to be manipulated would discover I was capable of playing that game better than they had anticipated. I spent the night researching legal options, understanding paternity laws in our state, and developing a comprehensive plan to protect myself from the web of deception they had woven around me. By morning, I had created a detailed assessment of our financial situation, documenting every asset account and property. I had captured and securely stored all video evidence on multiple encrypted drives stored outside our home. I had researched the top divorce attorneys in 3 surrounding counties, focusing on those with experience in paternity fraud and high-asset divorces. While Amanda slept peacefully in our bed, I was preparing a counteroffensive she would never see coming. My first strategic move was securing all digital evidence on multiple encrypted drives with redundant cloud backups, requiring 2-factor authentication only I could access. The surveillance footage provided irrefutable proof, not just of infidelity, but of conspiracy to commit fraud, potentially giving me significant leverage in divorce proceedings. I carefully documented each video with timestamps and transcripts, creating a comprehensive catalog of deception that no judge or mediator could dismiss. Through careful research and confidential inquiries among trusted professional contacts, I identified attorney Diana Wilson, notoriously nicknamed the Piranha in legal circles for her aggressive representation and uncompromising approach to divorce cases. Her reputation for handling cases involving deception and hidden assets made her perfectly suited for my situation. I liquidated some personal investments to secure her substantial retainer without alerting Amanda by accessing joint accounts. Our initial 4-hour consultation was comprehensive and brutally honest. Attorney Wilson reviewed my evidence and immediately outlined a strategic approach. First, she advised securing all financial accounts without triggering Amanda's awareness. This involved creating new accounts at different institutions where I could transfer my inheritance and personal assets that predated the marriage. She emphasized that timing was crucial, as any actions taken after filing for divorce would face much greater scrutiny from the court. Diana was particularly interested in the medical record alterations mentioned in the recorded conversations. She explained that beyond divorce proceedings, this could potentially involve medical fraud with serious legal consequences for both Amanda and her accomplice in medical records. She connected me with a forensic accountant who specialized in tracing financial movements and identifying hidden assets or unauthorized transfers. Implementing the financial protection strategy required careful execution. I scheduled legitimate business travel to justify my absence while I visited banks and financial institutions to secure my premarital assets. For each account, I prepared documentation, proving the funds originated before marriage, making them separate rather than marital property. The inheritance money from my grandparents was particularly important to protect, as Amanda had specifically targeted these funds in her planning. The documentation process extended to physical property as well. I discreetly photographed and cataloged items I had owned before marriage, or received as personal gifts, creating records of separate property that could not be included in marital asset division. For family heirlooms and items of sentimental value, I arranged secure storage with my brother in another state, removing them from potential contention during the divorce process. Beyond the video evidence already collected, I began legally recording phone conversations under my state's one-party consent laws. These recordings captured additional incriminating statements and inconsistencies in Amanda's pregnancy claims. I maintained detailed logs of her absences, unexpected schedule changes, and continuing financial transfers from our joint accounts. When Amanda claimed a doctor appointment required her to miss a dinner with my parents, I later verified no such appointment existed at the medical facility. Preparation for temporary living arrangements became necessary, as Diana advised an abrupt separation once legal proceedings began. I secured a furnished apartment with a 6-month lease under a business LLC to prevent Amanda from easily locating me. The property manager understood the confidential nature of the arrangement, agreeing to enhanced security protocols and restricted access information. Digital security required particular attention given Amanda's previous access to my personal information. I changed all passwords, created new email accounts for legal communications, and implemented advanced security measures on all devices. The attorney advised purchasing new personal electronics that Amanda had never accessed, eliminating any possibility of spyware or tracking software she might have installed. While these preparations continued, maintaining perfectly normal behavior at home required tremendous emotional discipline. I participated in baby name discussions, accompanied Amanda to a carefully selected public prenatal appointment, while knowing she attended real appointments with Jason and continued routine activities that would prevent suspicion. Each moment of pretense was psychologically exhausting, but strategically necessary to prevent premature confrontation. The evidence collection expanded to include documentation of the altered medical records. Through legal channels, Diana obtained authentic medical documentation that, when compared with versions Amanda had shared with me, showed clear alterations to dates and development markers. The forensic accountant uncovered a pattern of financial transfers beyond what I had initially discovered, including a separate safe deposit box registered in Amanda's maiden name containing cash withdrawals from our joint accounts. With each passing day, the comprehensive case against Amanda grew stronger. Diana recommended waiting until we had assembled maximum leverage before proceeding with filing, while ensuring we remained within timelines required for contesting paternity. We developed a detailed projection of Amanda's likely countermoves and prepared responses for each scenario. If she claimed emotional abuse, we had documentation of her own statements, contradicting such claims. If she alleged financial misconduct on my part, we had complete transparent accounting of all transactions with proper business justifications. The final phase of preparation involved a consultation with a psychological expert who reviewed the evidence and provided insights into the manipulative patterns demonstrated by Amanda and Jason. This analysis would prove valuable in countering any attempts to paint me as paranoid or unstable during proceedings. The psychologist noted clear patterns of gaslighting and emotional manipulation that could be effectively demonstrated to the court. After 3 weeks of intensive preparation, Attorney Wilson confirmed we had established an unassailable legal position. The plan for confrontation and filing was set with the legal team positioned to move with overwhelming force and speed. As difficult as the discovery process had been, I felt a growing sense of control and clarity that had been absent during months of confusion and self-doubt. The truth had set something free in me, even as it destroyed the life I had believed was real. When the confrontation day arrived, I maintained absolute calm, knowing emotion would only undermine the effectiveness of our approach. With Attorney Wilson on standby and all evidence secured, I presented Amanda with selected portions of the surveillance footage. Her progression from confident denial to shocked recognition to desperate negotiation played out exactly as Diana had predicted. The moment she realized the comprehensive nature of the evidence against her, all pretense collapsed. Service of divorce papers during the confrontation left no room for manipulation or delay. The petition included clear evidence of fraud, adultery, and conspiracy, with provisions for immediate financial separation and temporary orders protecting my assets. When Amanda frantically called Jason during the confrontation, his response revealed his true character. Faced with potential legal consequences beyond the divorce, he immediately distanced himself from Amanda and their plans, unwilling to risk his career and freedom once the deception was exposed. The court proceedings that followed moved with unprecedented speed thanks to the overwhelming evidence and Diana's aggressive strategy. The judge expressed rare editorial comments about the calculated nature of the deception, particularly regarding the paternity fraud attempt. With incontrovertible evidence of Amanda's true motives and actions, the court ruled heavily in my favor on all financial matters. The paternity test confirmed Jason as the biological father, legally severing any responsibility I might have had for the child. Today, 6 months after the divorce was finalized, I continue working with a therapist to process the betrayal and rebuild my capacity for trust. The experience fundamentally changed my approach to relationships and personal security, but I refuse to let it destroy my ability to connect with others. Through the painful process, I discovered inner strength and resilience I never knew I possessed. I learned to trust my instincts even when others attempt to undermine my perception of reality. Most importantly, I discovered that facing a painful truth is ultimately less destructive than living in a comfortable illusion. I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I had never discovered the truth. Would I have raised another man's child believing it was mine? Would the planned divorce have proceeded once they had secured financial advantages? The thought of living decades in ignorance seems far more tragic than the painful awakening I experienced. While I would never wish such betrayal on anyone, the clarity and strength gained through confronting it have transformed me in ways I am only beginning to appreciate. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that forced you to completely reassess relationships in your life? Leave a comment sharing how you handled discovering painful truths. If my story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more real-life experiences that might help others facing similar situations. Share this with someone who might be questioning their own instincts in a relationship, because sometimes validation is all they need to discover their own truth. Thank you for listening to my journey from deception to clarity, and remember, trusting yourself is the first step toward authentic relationships.